So, all right, guys. So it's been a year now. About to be a year. Shit. It's about to be a year since we last talked. What's the update? Like, you guys just moved from Chicago, moved back to Chicago from Miami. Like, how's life?
It's good. We just moved across the whole damn country, so it was wild. It's like a 24-hour drive. But yeah, we're in Chicago now. Like, Michelle's family is like 30 minutes north of here. Like, my family's like 4 hours south. So it was a big move.
So what's it called? Last time we only had Michelle. We didn't have you. So you guys already know Michelle and are really like a little bit about her background. So Garrett, what about you? Like what do you do? You do high sales ticketing or?
Yeah. So basically what we do is like we have like a sales training, and then we have like guaranteed placement, like high paying, like online remote, like sales roles. So for businesses, like we have hiresalesreps.io where like we place sales reps for completely free. And then on the sales rep side, like we have sales training and guaranteed placement at like super high paying roles. So
how we got started into that though?
Dropping out of college and trying to pay rent.
Okay. You did say too at Southern Illinois, right? Someone got you into it, or did I get that wrong?
Yeah. He kind of like showed me, like, I was in my like how to make money online phase. So I was just like trying to do anything and everything to like not be in college. But she kind of got me into it. So she had like I was like flipping shoes and just trying to like make money somehow. I didn't even realize it was sales at the time, but she was doing some like business stuff, and she's like, hey, you should check out this training. There's like this guy who's like giving a sales training. I was like, I feel like I don't do sales, but yeah, I'll watch it. And the guy had basically like a sales agency. So he would have a bunch of businesses that like would want him to sell their stuff, and like not inside the business, but they had like sales reps in the sales agency, kind of like some like Wolf of Wall Street shit, right? And we would like, ended up being one of those sales reps. So I started working with that guy's company, moved up and got into there, and I just kept selling for more and more different businesses, like bigger businesses selling more expensive shit. And I did like $6 to like $8 million in sales before starting like the business I run now.
So like, okay, so I always hear about this too, like $6 to $8 million. You don't make that, right? Or do you get that percentage, or how does that work?
So like, all like high ticket sales, like remote sales, which is like what she does too. It's on like 10% commission.
Oh,
so,
shit.
Yeah.
So it's not the full. Do you think this is fine?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. It's not the full, like, you make the 6, 7, 8 million. You just make 10% of whatever you bring the company.
Okay.
Basically.
I do see people say like 6 to 8 million. I'm like, it catches my attention, so I watch the whole video. And I'm like, damn, we're making that much bang, bro. It's like,
I wish.
damn, but 10% is still a lot, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. God damn. I mean, like, so when you went to Miami too, I think I asked Michelle already this, but what did your parents say when you moved over there? You know. And you drove 24 hours. That's insane.
Yeah.
Wait, so we moved to Miami?
Yeah, to Miami.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were just like surprised. Like, I mean, tell the story of what your mom said about us.
Oh, okay. So basically, we were like talking for a while. Like, this is something that we had planned probably like a year and a half before I brought up the idea, and we are like, well, what if we actually did that? And then it turned into like, let's plan for that. Let's start saving. And so we knew we were going to move as soon as I graduated. Like, that was the plan. And so finally it was like, I don't even remember when it was. I think it was like the fall or something. We broke it to our parents. His parents kind of were like, oh yeah, whatever. Like, supposedly they're going to move to Miami, like, until, we actually started planning. And then my parents kind of said the same thing. And then I had to like sit them down and just say like, hey, this is the plan. Like, we're actually going to be moving. And so it was like a huge argument. And then at some point, it was like me, my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother. Fuck. I was like, I'm going to be like rich as fuck. Like, I'm going to be a millionaire and I need to go to Miami so that I can start that path and start that journey. And like, I can't do that here. And they were like, well, you just like about to graduate, stay home for a year, figure it out, go get like a small paying job, like just, start there. And I basically was like, I just need your support. Like, I'm not asking you, like, I'm leaving. That's what's happening. And so they kind of got on board. And then we ended up coming to Miami the like winter before we finally moved. So probably like 5 months.
It was New Year's, right?
Yeah, it was New Year's. And we were like not touring, but we were like looking at different neighborhoods, seeing what we liked. And then on the ride home, my parents were like eating at a like pancake house. And my mom was like talking in Spanish, and she was like talking to my dad and my siblings, and he couldn't understand because he was
Just eat my pancakes.
like, we're about to have the biggest family fight of our lives in this freaking, what was it? There's and so my mom goes, I had a dream, and she starts like laughing, and I was like, what's the dream? And she was like, oh, I had a dream that like you and Garrett ended up being like moving to Miami and becoming homeless and like not being able to pay your rent and then moving all the way home. And then basically like she was like instigating like don't move because you're not going to be able to afford the bills and you're just going to have to like basically be homeless on the streets. So that started this whole like conversation around like this is what I'm going to do even though like you're clearly not supportive, because even we like took my parents and like showed them different neighborhoods and they were like nothing, like no smile. They were like, this is fine, like whatever.
Yeah.
And it came down to like finally, you know, we still kept going, still, you know, made the process.
Yeah.
And then like I packed up my car, was driving to his place so we could like all drive together with his family because my parents couldn't make it because they were working. And my mom basically just explained like the reason that she said that was because she like didn't want me to leave. Because like, what if I liked it so much that I didn't come back? And so it was like one of those weird things where, you know, parents are like, well, in my perspective, you won't be able to afford it, or like it's not going to work out. But it's like having to like give your child like the opportunity to like figure it out. And so that's like what ended up happening. His parents were,
They received it really well. Like I had already been making relatively, I mean, it's all relative to anyone, but I was making pretty good money for like a bit at that point. So they were like, I mean, we thought he was crazy when he dropped out, and then he figured that out, and now he's doing pretty good, and like now he wants to do this. So like he has a good track record of figuring shit out previously. So
You did already. Yeah.
so like, you know, he's smart, he'll figure it out. And I think that was a big motive behind the move, was just like kind of becoming uncomfortable again. Because in like small Bloomington, like Illinois, I was like a big fish in a small pond.
Yeah.
Like I was hanging out with like people who own businesses in the area, like 35, 50-year-old dudes who like own gyms or like own restaurants or do real estate stuff. And I was like making ballpark what these guys were making. Like obviously some of them were bigger fish, but I was just like, I'm like making way more and like a way bigger fish than like everyone in this small town. And like, how do I grow when I'm like a fish will only grow to the size of its tank?
Right.
And I was like, I need to travel, like we need to travel and like go find a place where we're like a really small fish in a big ass pond where I get laughed out of room for making $1 million. Like that's the place where I want to be. So we traveled a lot, and that was kind of the motive behind Miami. It's like, let's get around people making way more than us, that are like doing way more, that think way bigger, that build way bigger shit. So that we can learn from these people and get around this environment so that we can go do bigger shit.
And I love that too. Adding on to like Michelle too, like we're also in the Hispanic culture, right? So like, it's not because they want to doubt us. It's because like, we're just so known that they want the family together.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So like, I get that too when I feel that pressure with our parents, like, oh, you guys starting a podcast, you guys are not interested in doing this. But, and I like what you said too, because a lot of people, the more we do these interviews, our guests, we relate to them more. Cause like you said, I want to be a millionaire. I'm gonna go fuck. Right. Like you said that you manifested it. Same thing when we talked about our stuff. Look where we are now, right? Every single person that we've talked to, they're like, doesn't matter what people say, just do it. Yeah. So, and it's not cockiness, it's just confident. So that's what I love too about you guys when I first met you guys too, and plus you're our age.
Yeah.
Right? That's what makes it more cooler, because you're still in your early 20s and you guys are doing what no one has done. I don't personally know anyone who I grew up with that are doing what you guys done.
Yeah.
Not even us. Like, you guys actually did it at such a young age. And you left school because you believed in yourself, right?
Yeah.
Even if your parents didn't believe in you, you believed in yourself. And that's the most important thing. And you're doing it and you're crushing it. So I don't know, like, I'm seeing this, like, look at this view. Like, everyone's seeing this view. It's beautiful view. But regardless, you guys still went to another state, conquered that, came back here, conquering here.
Yeah.
That's what I love. And you're crushing it too, being Hispanic too. So I love that, you know?
Also, I wanted to ask, so since you guys did live in Miami and you guys like talked about how like that was gonna like make you guys like bigger people, you know, think better. So like, how is that now? Like, what did you guys learn off of like living in Miami?
Okay, yeah, I'll go first. So basically, last time that we talked, I was doing really good. Like, I had this other business, I was in network marketing. I had built something for 3 years that, in my perspective, it was like the biggest thing that I had built at the time. And like, I had the team, I was mentoring the people, I had the customers, like I had everything laid out as far as like, this is what I've been focusing on. This is why I'm moving to Miami. I moved to Miami so that I can excel in that business and like level up with what I was doing with that. And the first 2 months when I was living in Miami, like I was working so many hours because I was like dedicated to making sure that like I made good money in what I was doing. And while alongside living with someone that was making a dumbass amount of money in the room next door. And I was like, kind of started shifting my perspective a lot because I was just like, you know, as far as kind of how much money you can make and what you're doing, it just, I mean, it makes you think in a different way. And so after 2 months of like hustling, I would say 2.5 months, around 3 months of like hustling so hard, like taking calls at 11 at night, like 12 a.m. even, like trying to help every single person on my team succeed. I like had to take a hard look in the mirror and basically like just acknowledge the fact that all of the effort that I was putting and all the skills that I was learning just weren't like working. Like the business model was not working for me anymore. And I was literally going on this like downward spiral of like financially, this is literally going to put me in like a hole. And so when we moved, I mean, I had savings, I had like my whole plan of like, this is what I'm going to do. I literally opened up, like I tell this all the time and I made a video about it too, where I share my whole story, but I don't even know where that video's at. Or maybe I think, he interviewed me for his like business on his YouTube and I share that story. But like I moved to Miami with like a savings account and I literally opened up a $2,500 credit limit so that I could like fund it. So it was like, I had this in case I need it. Like I'm cutting my parents off because in college, like they would support me, like food, gas, you know, stuff like that. And so as soon as I made the move, I was like, that's it. Like I'm like calling it, because it's like you can't move somewhere and like try and start this life and like support yourself with your parents' money. And that was my perspective on it. And so it worked for a little bit, and then I literally started going down to the point where like, because our rent was like $5,000 at the month, and what we had planned on and what the whole goal was he'll pick up at the beginning aspect of it because he could, like he was making finances to where that was like not an issue. And I was like, well, I've never paid rent before. Just like, how the fuck am I going to figure out how to pay $20,000? And I was like, holy shit, this is not going to work. So then I realized like what I was doing, my business model, it just wasn't working for me anymore. And I was just putting so much effort and I was getting extremely burnt out. And so I had tried like working with one sales company right before we moved. It didn't end up working out. I just didn't like them, the whole like aspect behind it. And so then come like September, finally, we're like getting like 4 months into it. I was like, and I love sharing this story because at the time, of course, it was like pretty like stressful, but like sharing it and looking back, like I think so many people can learn from it. But like I literally was going low financially to the point where like, imagine having like the biggest like weight on your shoulder. Like that's what I felt every single day. Like I was like the biggest like financial weight. Like all I could think about was like money, like how I wasn't making enough. I wasn't able to support myself. Like he was like paying for our groceries and stuff and rent and, you know, stuff like that. And so it put me in like such a bubble where like all I could think about was the fact that what I was doing wasn't working. And even when I worked so hard, it just wasn't working anymore for like my expenses. Like I was like, I just moved to Miami. Like this place is 10x income of like Bloomington, Illinois. So I needed to like literally figure it out. And so that was basically when I just decided like there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a smarter way. Like I said, he's in sales, and like just me, like I had so much baggage that I like was coming in with. Like I thought that because I was a girl, I couldn't be in sales. Like I only saw guys in the space. I thought that because I was Mexican, like people wouldn't take me seriously. Like I feel like I grew up with so many like limiting beliefs that people put on me of like, because you're a minority, you can't do X, Y, and Z. Because you're a girl, you can't do X, Y, and Z. And so like, even though I didn't say it out loud, that's why for like the whole time that we were dating up until that point, I kept saying no to all of those opportunities because I was like, I'm not good enough. Like I won't be able to succeed in it. I won't get a job. Like people won't take me seriously. And then finally it was like so down, and like my bank account was literally about to hit zero, that I was like, if I don't do something else, like I'm going to be stuck in this place forever. And keep in mind, by this point, it's like 4 months into Miami. So like from the outside, it looks great. From the inside, I'm literally crumbling. And so that was when he like brought up like, oh, he's working with this new company. They're looking for salespeople. They, you know, work with, you know, females, and this is like the area of like what the niche was. And so I thought about it for like a day. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to like, basically like I didn't want to tell him like I'm interested and then like not be interested or not follow through or fail. And I just didn't want to like put myself on this pedestal and then like not fulfill with what I'm saying I can do. And so then the second time that he brought it up, I was like, yeah, like I'm actually really interested in it. Like, what is it that they're, you know, doing? And so I ended up applying for like their like setter role, which basically it's like the person before the closer. It's like if you're playing soccer, like it's like the middleman that like passes to the forward and the forward shoots. I was like the middleman, basically the setter. And went to the interview at the same exact time that I was going on like a work trip for the other company that I was working with at the time. And on that work trip, I realized two things. Number one, I realized that every single person around me was broke as hell. And I was like, I'm surrounded by all these people trying to grow.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm surrounded by all these people that are trying to level up and they're trying to grow and are trying to make a lot of money. But you look around and these last 3 years, every single one of us has stayed broke. And I was like, clearly the environment's not working. So on that like trip, I had like a second, like a part 2 interview for that. And basically what ended up happening is midway through the interview, I ended up like, he switched the full interview and was like, I've never done this before, but like, you would be an amazing closer. Like, why didn't you just apply to be a closer? And I was like, and keep in mind, like a closer role versus like a setter role was like 3-4x the income. Like,
so what does a closer do though? Like what, how does that work?
So a closer is basically the person, like imagine like a business model where they have like a coaching program and they're teaching people how to do X, Y, and Z. The business is big, the fulfillment is there, the clientele is there, like the results are there.
This business does like $1 million a month for context. Like they're a big size business.
Yeah, it's a really big business. And basically like they need two people. There's a setter, they need people that are calling people and that have opted into emails and basically see if they're qualified, get them on a call with the closer. And then a closer is the person that does like the presentation, basically like vets them and make sure that they are a good candidate for the actual offer. Like as far as like their time, their budget, what they're looking for. And then also the closer's job is to collect payment. So then that's how we get like the 10% of whatever we close.
It's kind of similar to like if you're in a restaurant, there's like the host that like takes you to your table, and then there's the waiter that like, you know, actually like,
serves you and stuff.
Order and stuff like that. It's the same thing.
And they say, do you want to add fries with that?
Okay.
Yeah, that's basically what a closer is. But yeah, so I started on that. And just to go back to your question, because that's like a huge story and ramble. Yes, like that, moving to Miami, I would not have got the job offer if I didn't move to Miami. I would not have made more money if I didn't move to Miami. Like I was so like stuck in like $1,000 is a lot of money, even $500, $100, which is what I was selling at the time, hair products. It's a lot of money. Versus like now, like I'm like $8,000, okay, $10, okay, like it makes sense. Like that's the price. That's why it's that. Now it's like let's work to like figure it out. So yeah, I mean I'll tell you guys more about it too after Garrett shares the story, but it did.
And it was such a hard dynamic for me because I was in a bit of a different like financial stratosphere as her. And I wanted to provide for her, like I was paying rent, groceries.
Can you explain like the numbers behind it? That way they understand the difference.
Yeah, I mean, I was doing like 40, 50 grand a month, like at that time. And she's like, you know, got like some credit card debt, like not too much in the bank.
Put it on that limit.
And she like wasn't getting her nails done. And I'm like, bro, like, I was like, can I pay you to get your nails done? She's like, no.
Wait, so what, she like not letting you pay for anything?
No, like anything extra. She's like, I really want new clothes. I'm like, let's go get new clothes. No. I was like
literally no nails done for
your nails done for like 4 months, 6 months.
No, it was 6 months. It was
months.
until I'm about to see visit your parents for Christmas.
Yeah, but I'm seeing her like anxious as fuck every day when like I'm doing good, and I'm like, can I give you money? Like it's so like you're good, like it's okay, but like I respect the fuck out of her because she didn't want that, even though she obviously could have. Because it robbed her of the lesson of like figuring it out and like making the money, even though obviously she had that and I wanted to. And I also didn't want to rob her of the lesson. So it was so cool how the stars aligned because, and I'll get into my story, but like I had this business owner, because like we play sales reps for businesses. So we had this random DM from this guy who's like, hey, we need like 3 like female closers. And I was like, the closing Bible's pretty male heavy. You got like 3 girls and they're all on offers. So like I don't know, like I can try to hit people up. I'm like, what's the business? He tells us, he's like, we're doing like 1 million on a bad month, like 1.5 million on like a good month. Like the closers here are gonna make like 10, 12 grand a month. We need 3 people like ASAP. I was like laying there at night and I was like telling Michelle, I'm like this company is like they do 8 figures a year. Like they need sales reps, but they want like females. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I brought it up and she was just like, she didn't say anything. And I didn't know. She's like, I really want to do this. I was just like, venting to her. It was my end of my day. And I was like, fuck, I'm going to figure this out. And then I brought it up again. And she's like, I still remember the exact moment. Like, I was looking at her. She was sitting at this a little bit different, but it was this couch. I was sitting there and she's like, I'll do it. And I was like, holy shit. Like, I couldn't like give her like money or anything because she didn't want to take it. But I was like, I could connect her with like this company. And she took it and just fucking had crazy success. And like, she's literally the best sales rep. She trains and like helps manage like the whole sales team. Like, she took that opportunity and like ran with it. But my story, as far as like what I got out of Miami, I think just like with what I do is like the average business we place sales reps for is like $6 million a year.
Wow.
So being around people that make good money is awesome because you're at a cigar lounge and you bump into a guy and he's like, oh yeah, we do like, you know, $600-700 a month. And like, we actually do need some sales reps. So it was like, or you're on a like yacht and you bump into some people who have big ass businesses. It's just like, when you're in a small town, like college town, and people are going to college dive bars, like you're not bumping into people doing $700,000 a month. So just like connections wise, I got everything I wanted and more out of Miami. Like we've had the privilege of placing 162 sales reps for different businesses for the past year and a half. And like a lot of that attributes to like being in Miami and being in that scene. Because it's just like, it's all like social media based. So just being in Miami and you have a decent following, like anytime people come in, they're like, oh, I got to hang out with Garrett because he's in the city. So the connections I got in Miami was unreal. And yeah, I mean, my business like literally doubled, while I was over there. And a lot of my growth is definitely attributed to being in Miami.
Dude, that's phenomenal. 50, 60 rags at 22, 23, dude. That's like, I'm just trying to comprehend that. But, so how do you manage with the distractions over there in Miami? Because you're still a young guy, so you go to Miami, there's party scenes too, you two guys are over there. How do you handle that with the distractions, you know?
So immediately we were super conscious of that because it's like, I'm in my 20s, I want to have a good time too, but it's like, I also have people depending on me, you know, like I got a business to run, they shit like that. So we were both like, let's do this, like chestnut checkers. We're like, let's do 75 hard the day we get there. Yeah. Because then we have our perfect excuse, our perfect out when people invite us to a club. We're like, oh, we can't drink, bro. It's only enough hard. And I wanted to be in better shape. Okay. I was like, it can't not help me. So it's worth doing. It was good for discipline. Like I lost weight, like she lost weight. We both got in better shape. It was awesome. So we did that and it was like a perfect excuse to not drink. And then we're kind of just naturally out of that crowd. And yeah, so that was good just initially like showing people our boundaries. Because I think anytime you get around new people, if you don't lay down the boundary, like they're going to step over that line. Yeah. So that was a good way to just be like, oh, we can.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you guys go into Miami knowing anybody or no?
We knew one person. Oh, okay. Yeah. Right?
I knew like 3 or 4 different business owners just from like, it's called like money Twitter. It's like a little corner of Twitter where like, people run businesses and make money and shit. So I knew some people there, but I didn't have any like close friends that I was like, oh, I can't wait to see you or anything like that.
Right. I asked you too because like you're making that amount of money and then you go to Miami. So that's why I said the distractions, right? You can buy stuff now, right? Yeah. Obviously Miami is high income and everything's pricey, but still, you know, at that age, people can go a little bit crazy, right? Yeah. But I don't know, like I like how you guys had that support system. Like you're there for her when she was like in the bad terms and stuff financially. And also too, like you didn't let that stop you. You continue with that too. So like moving forward, I'm assuming that you guys eventually will collab a business together. No? Or I don't know if you guys have spoken about that, but that's still too early.
Yeah, we've considered some stuff like, I mean, yeah, we've definitely considered like, literally we're like, let's see how this podcast goes. And like, maybe we'll do a podcast on this couch.
Right. No, yeah. So, yeah.
We mentioned stuff like that. We've mentioned like launching an Amazon like product together. We've mentioned some stuff like that for sure.
Because like you guys having conversation stuff, instead of like making short-term content like that, 1 hour of you guys two talking or whoever with financial stuff could be 50 content right then and there. Yeah. Put it out right there, boom. 3 a day, 4 a day, 6 a day from different social media apps. But no, like, I don't know, you guys are well spoken together too. And I don't know, you guys have like that system right there, like you guys want each other back. But no, continue. You were saying too. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
I think, like, I think, like, the biggest thing is 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 like, I think, like, the bi
Yeah, we were thinking about a lot of different things. We're like, it's still up in the air. We definitely can see ourselves like doing something together. I think he'll always have his own thing, I'll always have my own thing, but cool to do something together.
Yeah. Right.
I had a podcast. I don't know when you guys interviewed me last time if I talked about that podcast,
I
but
think he did.
yeah, I had a podcast called Girl Let's Grow.
Yeah.
And I would post on there weekly like different updates, lessons, things that I was learning, and it was great. Like I loved it, but there came a point where I was like trying to level up, and I was like, this podcast is giving broker energy. It's giving growth with no money. I don't know. So I was like, okay, you gotta figure something out. So paused on that for a while, and then we were kind of game planning and like brainstorming on like different name of podcasts, something that's like more as far as like alignment right now with where I'm at in my life. And we came across the name like Seeking Leverage. So that's what the podcast is called now. It hasn't been like posted to like consistently, but we were even just talking about that today. Like if the podcast goes good, like that could be a possibility for us to like do it as a way of networking with people instead of me just doing it by myself, like maybe bringing him into it and then just bringing people on, like bringing you guys on and then switching the role, asking you guys questions.
Yeah.
So it's up in the realm, but yeah, we've also talked about, like he was saying, Amazon FBA, launching products. I think now like we figured out how to make a lot of money with our time and how to like leverage that. But now we're like in a stage where like we're trying to figure out how do we leverage our time even more and make our money make us money. Like what can we do that's like you're building something where it's not reliant on you having to like post it on social media or like talk about it for you to like get money or like get sales on that product. So I think, at least for me, I don't know if we'll end up doing it together, but I could see myself in the next like year launching 1 to 5 products on Amazon and like, you know, kind of going that route just to have something on the back end while I'm building my social media brand. Because I mean, even with like TikTok, like it's literally like a living, breathing like place for people to share what they're buying on Amazon. It's like I'm promoting products. I might as well promote something that is my own, that I created as like an influencer, but it's all going to go back basically to me because it's my product. I'm the owner. Because you see all these girls promoting products on TikTok, and they're like, oh, it's on my storefront, it's on my storefront. They're getting a percentage of that sale, but who's getting most of the money? Like the owner is making all that money. Like Alex Earl promoting there's like this little light on, it's like a little light, girls use it for selfies and stuff like that. And she makes a really good money promoting that product. But the owner probably made like 500,000 to like a million a month just from her promoting it because it was going through the roof, selling so crazy. So it's like, I don't know, it's up in the air.
Do you have a couple products that you want to name out, like you guys want to do, or still in the works right now?
Yeah, it's super.
We have a lot of ideas.
I think the hard thing is just like it takes so much of my mental energy and time and focus and everything just building what I'm building now. Like, I mean, I have the goal of like in the next 5 years, like selling the business I run for $30 million. So like she's contemplated like building her own stuff, and she's also like, I'm not sure if I want to or not. Like she's even contemplated, like she's fucking awesome at sales. Like she's really, really, really good at sales. And like, obviously I have like a sales education company and like, you know, a sales recruitment company too. So like she could help me a ton build over here if she ever, you know, wanted to, you know. So she's contemplating like building her own stuff or like potentially helping me too. Cause I think just like thinking on a longer term time horizon, like would we like get married and like have kids and shit? Like, you know, like how much will she want to work and stuff like that? Like it's stuff we throw up in the air. She's super ambitious, so it's up to her for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like right now with everything that I've been like working on, like everything that this job, I mean, I took it because it was like the money was there, but also the skills were there. I already was really good at talking to people. Like that's what my thing was. Like, I don't know if you guys I don't know if this happened to you guys, but like I love sharing this story, but like when I was younger in like middle school, like literally like 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and there would be like parent teacher conferences, my teachers would literally sit my dad down, because my mom didn't go, but they would sit my dad down and they would be like, Michelle talks too much, Michelle's always talks too much, I'm making too many friends. And now it's like why do teachers like say shit like that to little kids? Like that's a skill. That's literally a skill. So it's like it works perfectly. Like I'm good at talking to people. I love talking to people. I love the connection part of it. So of course I'm gonna be good at this job. But yeah, I mean I've learned a lot of skills since working there because it's been like 8-9 months now. So maybe at one point I'll move over to his like actual business and run like the sales portion of it, or like at least put some systems, because I've learned a lot just as far as like the systems behind it. What needs to be in place basically for the company to make money from the sales aspect of it. So we don't even know. There's like so many different things, and but I'm also like in the works of. I don't know if you've noticed. I know you guys follow me on TikTok, but like I'm definitely in the works right now of like growing my social media on TikTok.
Yeah.
And I can see that like completely blowing up. Like I'm like very, very confident that in the next year, minimum like 50K. Like if, I think I could honestly get to 100K by this time next year. And like that's like my number one priority. It kind of falls in two because it's like my job, that's my number one priority, but also my like TikTok and like where I can see that going is equally my number one priority because while it's not my job right now, like I know in a year it could potentially be my full-time thing.
100%. And it's crazy too as well because like you guys are so busy too, even though you guys do it remotely. How do you handle that stress, right? Because you're closing thousands, millions of dollars a day, right? Or a week, whatever. How do you handle that stress? You know, because you one bad move, one bad sell, that's money in the drain. How do you handle that pressure?
Yeah, I mean it's difficult. I mean we made a poor decision with like not letting go of a team member just recently. And it was like $160,000 fucking mistake. Like, it's stressful. Like, it's super stressful. But I think it's just like the more you build and the more you do, your stress tolerance just like rises, and it just becomes like the problems you're used to dealing with on a day-to-day basis. But I don't know, smoking cigars is nice.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Like,
I'm a big cigar guy. That's helpful. And then just like hanging out with her and like shutting my brain off at night is like helpful.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think just the more stress you endure, the bigger your stress tolerance gets to where when you have lower, like when you're in college, you think it's like the most stressful, worst situation on earth because you have an assignment due at night.
Yeah.
And it's like a fucking thing where really if you sat down, it could take 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You're like, my life's over if I don't write this fucking paper. Yeah. So it's like, as your stress tolerance gets bigger, like that thing, like just becomes a bigger thing. So smaller problems and other things become like pretty medial.
Right.
Yeah.
So like also too with failures as well, because like nothing's gonna go perfect too.
No.
How do you handle that? You know, because like when something doesn't go your way, obviously you have to pivot yourself somewhere else to figure it out, of course. So how do you deal with that when you're just completely bad? Something goes to shit.
Yeah, this is something I want to talk about a lot because I was on a sales call with someone recently, and they were like, do you think that like I can for sure make like 20 grand a month in 60 days? And I was like, do you think you can make 20 grand a month after doing something for 60 days? Like, fuck no. Like when you were playing like soccer and you were in kindergarten, were you mad that you couldn't beat Messi one-on-one? Like you've done it for 1 year. Like why the fuck would you be good? Like you should be like, I shouldn't be good because I've done it for less than 2 years. It's like, why don't we bank on the fact that like in 5 years we should be good, in 10 years we should be good? And I think if you look at things on a longer term time horizon, you have a higher likelihood of being good. But when we set 60-day, 90-day goals and we're mad that we're quote unquote failing or mad that we're not as good as we think we should be, like it's just ignorant. Because like, again, like the whole sports analogy, like Jared, like I'm a baseball, football guy. I didn't really play soccer like that. But you know, like I'm not going to expect to go to the MLB after a fucking T-ball season.
Right, dude.
So why would you expect to be making $10 million a year after doing something for a year and a half?
Yeah.
I feel like that's the problem with nowadays. Like people expect money to come like that in like a month or like 2 months, but in reality, it takes years to like get that skill and actually. Yeah,
I love that though, because like entering in this space too, regardless, I feel like we're not doing no noise right now, but I didn't care what anyone thought, regardless with 1, 5, 6, 7, 5. Like this is what I always say: if you're doing what you love, you want, right? You guys already, and if you're good at what you do, the money will come eventually, right? So that's what I'm saying. That's my saying. I feel like a lot of kids do want it quick, especially our age too, with social media, consuming with like getting all the watches, the cars, and stuff like that, all that luxury stuff, but yeah, I feel like that should be talked about more in our generation because everyone wants it quick, and that's why everyone goes to that dark path.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're looking forward for the weekends to have that fun, I feel like if that's what you want, fine. But like I just feel like if you're looking forward for the weekend just to have your fun and waste your money on like booze and stuff like that, and you're still asking, why am I not rich yet? Why am I not getting that watch yet? You know? I feel like you got to rethink your morals. You got to rethink what your process thinking, you know? When you want something, you work for it, right? You know, they always say, why am I not getting lucky? Well, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of people aren't really, in our generation,
Yeah, I agree. I actually had a really funny conversation with a friend recently and love this person a lot. But like it would like put things into perspective too, because she, basically we were having this, conversation around this apartment that I got, and just this job that I got and how it's paying really well and all the benefits of it. And of course my past experience in network marketing and how I did that for basically like majority of college. Like I started it when I was freshman, like at the end of first semester, and then I did it all the way through college. And then I left it a few months after like graduating college. And so basically like people could see this and they could see the apartment, they could see, what I talk about, but they don't know the years that I literally did so much personal development and so much growth to get to a point where like, yeah, I was building something for years and it wasn't making me the money, but I was developing a skill for 3.5 years before the opportunity actually came. Like I would not have got this job without all the preparation that I had done all this time on something else that maybe wasn't meant to be the thing, but was meant to lead me here. And it was a conversation around basically saying, everything that you did and like not going out and stuff, like it was basically pointless because you ended up not even moving forward with it and being successful in it. And you're doing something completely different. And it was one of those things where I just like sat on my white couch with the city in the background, and I just knew in my heart, like, it wasn't pointless. It wasn't for nothing. Like I knew why I didn't go out to the bars those nights. I knew why I chose to be like a loner and like do my own stuff, like when everybody else was just getting shit-faced every single day of the week in college. And I knew why I lost so many friends, and I knew why I would go on so many walks alone and why I would do so much alone, because I knew what the bigger vision was for myself. And like, that's one of those things where it's like, you can look at the apartment and you can look at the things that we've built now, but also there was a time where I was in a college town with a bunch of college students and I was talking about everything that I was doing and it was frowned upon. Everybody would be like, oh, like, what does she think she is? She's selling hair products online. Like that shit doesn't even like make any money. Like just basically like looked down on. And then it's like all the manifestations that I knew were going to happen are happening. Moving to Miami, getting this apartment, like all the things that have happened was because I knew and I believed in that before anybody else around me knew. Just like I know, like I was saying like a few minutes ago, I know that my TikTok is 100% gonna blow up. Like I can 100% like say confidently, I can see it getting to 1 million. I don't know when, and I'm okay with not knowing when, but I can see it actually getting there because that's the number one thing that I've always wanted to do ever since I was little. Like when I was in 3rd grade, 4th grade, like I literally, you guys remember those little iPads, the little iPods?
The Nano?
Yeah, I would literally like film videos. I would bring my cousins over and they would be in my videos. Like they would be my star guests. I would do it with my sister. Like it was I literally was in like video class, the news. I ran the whole video team when I was in high school, and I got like awards for my video stuff. And I had a whole YouTube channel in high school that I ended up like closing. So it's like, I know like everything is guiding me to my highest self, but everything that I have built and everything that I'm going to build, it's because like I didn't give up when I wasn't seeing the results. And I feel like people now are so like, needs to happen right now, that they're not open to understanding. Like if you haven't achieved it yet, is because you haven't done the work or you're not there at that level to like receive what you're looking for. And so I think the disconnect is that people know this is where they're at and this is where they want to go. And they don't know how to bridge that gap because they're not willing to put the work in on themselves internally and like put themselves in that environment mentally and physically so that they can actually achieve what they're looking for. And I think that's like the big problem is that people don't want to say, okay, if I want to go there, I actually need to like get realistic and like actively make action steps towards that.
Yeah, and I think people drastically underestimate the amount of volume required to be good at something or make progress at something.
100%.
Like if you want to like blow up your social media, like you guys are posting your podcast since day one since I saw you guys in Miami, videos.
Yeah.
Every
like,
day.
regardless of the amount of fucking views, videos are going out because it's like, if you want to like go viral for sure, or grow a following for sure, like post 10,000 videos.
Yeah.
And then be like, oh, like, should we change anything? Should we do it differently?
Yeah.
Like one thing I learned is that I met Alex and Layla Hermosi like in person in March. In Vegas, and one of the biggest things I learned from him was like their decision-making framework when shit isn't working, which is like more, better, good.
Okay.
Like he's like, something isn't working, like posting, if you're posting on YouTube and you're not getting subscribers, like more first. So like go post like 200 videos and then see, did we learn anything? Like, did anything improve? Like, are we getting more followers?
Right.
If so, fucking probably. If still not, then okay, your videos are just like really shitty. Like that's clearly the problem.
No, that's bad.
So okay, cool. Like make better videos. Went from more to like better. And then if we do that and we make better quality videos and we're still doing the volume and we're not getting any traction, then we try new. So it's like, hey, maybe instead of a sit down video at our desk, we do a podcast style. We're sitting on the couch talking to people.
Right.
And then we go back to more, better, new.
Yeah.
And I think just in that decision-making framework, it really helps people like rationalize like what it takes to be successful. Because if you slap up 20 videos and like half of your time is spent getting drunk at the bar, and like, I don't think this content thing really works. Like, of course it's not gonna work.
100%. No, I like that too, because you have to pivot, bro. Like you just said, like if something's not working, you have to change the location, change the quality, change the cameras, change everything, the questioning and stuff like that. And I mean, I always talk about it too, because like everything looks so smooth on camera, right? Because one thing that we get is like, that looks fun. That's all that. I'm like, yeah, it's fun now at that moment when you're recording, but like when you have to edit, you have to put so much edit, you still have to ask people. Sometimes people say no. It's like, it's not that easy too. Like when you're doing those sales jobs and recording yourself on TikTok, it's not as simple as it seems, right? You have to edit, you still have to talk to these people. There's no money on the line. And like you said, you have to pivot. And you know, a lot of people just quit at that moment, right? They don't step back and like, they don't take a step back and look at what they can improve. And even if the money does come, they just wait to like on themselves, like go into the clubs. They don't reinvest on different materials, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I always tell Hurston, like, once we get like our first big paycheck, like 50K or something like that, more, whatever, it's reinvest, get a location, do stuff better. And I like having these conversations too, especially with you guys, because I feel like we relate a lot to, like, you're still young, you're hungry. And honestly, like, I feel like you guys made it. Outside perspective, me telling you guys made, like, you guys, you guys made it.
That's like making it.
Like you're living a dream a lot of people would want to. And the most bizarre thing is that you guys come out, like, if I saw you in the middle of the street and we guys just talk because we're getting coffee, I would never suspect like you're just like living here or like I wouldn't even care, right? In fact, but like it's just so crazy how you guys just come off like just naturally just friendly. And it's just like, you guys aren't showing off just materialistic. Like you said earlier too, you guys can see a photo of the new apartment, but you didn't see what you had to do to get here, right? The stress. I'm pretty sure it wasn't easy for you to either, you know?
Yeah, that's crazy because I feel poor.
Right?
It's frustrating because like, it's almost like the bigger things get, the more you realize how poor you are. It's like, the smartest people on earth don't talk that much because they realize like there's smarter people. Like once you start making money, I think you just see like all the levels above you and like you realize like how far you have to go. Yeah. So it's like, I don't even like saying the numbers we do. Cause I'm like there's someone that's doing $1 million a month, like laughing at me right now.
Right.
Yeah. And so it's like to one person's brag is like one person's bad month. So like,
yeah,
I think like a small level of insecurity is always good because you always have something you're like fighting against, and it's like fighting against the man in the mirror.
But I love that too because like you're just hungry, you know what I mean? Like you still want that fire in you, right? It's not being greedy. It's just that you just know that you can do better, right? To improve. And I love that because like when I started speaking with that with like my friends, my old friends, you're like, what the fuck are you talking about, brother? But like bro, like who the fuck do you think you are? But like speaking with like, you guys and leveling up with like gas and stuff, it's not crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like you're saying it to me and I'm just like, holy shit. Like I thought I was the crazy one saying that to my friends, but
you only sound crazy until you get around people that think like you.
There you go.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I mean, even with what you were saying earlier, it's just, I mean, it makes so much sense why there's people that make a lot of money and then there's people that don't make a lot of money. And I think it comes down to like self-awareness because if you're trapped in like a paradigm where it's so hard to make $500, $1,000, that's the paradigm that you live in. And a really good representation of that is, you know, like when we go to Mexico, right? $1 here is like freaking 15 pesos over there.
Yeah,
like you could freaking buy a lot of shit out there. And so to us, making $300, $500, it's cake. We take it to Mexico, you tell someone we made $300, $500, they're looking at you like you're rich as hell because the perception of what's possible is literally distinguished by your environment and your self-awareness. Because if like they knew like, okay, like this is how you're making this much money and like this is how easy it is and how simplistic it is, now their perception is like completely changing. And that's exactly what happened with us. Like he, you know, got around people that were making a lot of money, got in sales. Then my perception started shifting from like, okay, it's a lot of, it's 500 is a lot, 1,000 is a lot, you know, to, well, what if I can make $1,000 in a day? Like, what would that feel like? And so because I was around him, I started to basically widen my perception. And then the exact same thing that you said and that he said, as far as like, when you make more money, you start to realize how much more money there is. Like, I can make, you know, 10 to 16K a month. And then at the same time, I just made this company $100,000 to $160,000 that month. Like,
Right. 10% commission. So.
Yeah, 10% commission. So it's like, I can make really good money, but I know in the back of my head, I just made a company almost $160,000 that month alone. So it's like one of those things where when you start making more money, you start realizing that money is abundant and there's so much money to go around everywhere that it just shifts your perspective to how do we work smarter, not harder? Like, how do we leverage our time? Because there's people out there that don't want to spend $100 on something. There's also people out there that wouldn't blink at a $10,000 offer. They have it sitting in their bank account. They need it to make the money. They need a new skill. We have the skill. We have something. We have a solution for people. And like, that's how you make more money, is by realizing there's a lot of money to go out there. And and I think people's problem right now, not everybody's not like saying anything, but like, I think people's problem, everybody in general, is that until you realize how much money there is out there, and like, you stop judging by what's in your personal bank account, you're going to get stuck there. Like, if you're trying to level up and make 10K, 20K, 100K a month, and you're judging if that's possible by what's in your personal bank account, and you've never done that, you're never going to see that. Versus if you realize, hey, there's so many people out there that are doing those numbers, why can't I? And I think that's what it comes down to, is like literally just self-awareness of like what's actually possible for everybody. And I think that's one of those topics too, even like, I don't know how it's been for you guys, but like, being Hispanic for me and like being a woman, like I feel like I had so many like limiting beliefs my whole life that like it was so hard to make money. And like I go to the pool here, I go to the gym, I walk around our town, no Mexicans. I'm like, where are our people? Like, what's going on? And it's one of those things where it's like lack of awareness, and maybe that's like our duty is to spread awareness and spread the knowledge that we're learning, because there's people that have been in the US for centuries and centuries, and they figured it out. Like, they figured out how to make a lot of money. And it's like our jobs as like, I don't know if you guys are Mexican, but like as Hispanics and minorities, to like be vocal about what we're learning, because it's everybody can like make a lot of money. It's not just to make a lot of money, but it's like using money as the vehicle to achieve what we want. Maybe it's make an impact, maybe it's give back to our family, maybe it's build a school in a different country. And so that's why I think like it's important for us to talk about it out loud, even you, because the people in our network are now going to be like, damn, like they're doing it and this is their perspective. And like, if Michelle can, you know, have her dream apartment and like make this money, why can't I? And so I think that's our job.
No, it's 100% facts too. Speaking back like in our culture, we're both Mexicans too as well. No, dude, like our mindset is like a little small. Like I said, family stays together, and we feel like it's not reachable because of the language boundary. So there's just so much limiting stuff. I grew up with all girls, so I understand where you're coming from that too. Because like there's just that mindset where their roles are very, very different in a household than a man, right? Right? It's a lot. My sister complains about it a lot. So, but no, I swear. But no, and I like that too, because like to spread awareness too as well. Like you guys are doing it, crushing it, and you're breaking that chain, removing yourself from that chain and making a new one. Right? You're doing it right now. I'm sure you're doing it to your family, because I'm sure that's what I'm saying.
Both my dad grew up in a trailer. My mom grew up like. The only reason like my mom had a house was because like it's super small, like country ass town. So like the only reason they had a house was because they farmed the ground the house was on. So it was like a farmhouse, and the business, like the guy was pretty smart business wise. So like he got like 60% of what the farm made, and they would basically get a percentage of that. And that's the only reason they got the house. So like, like that's the only reason they had a house. So like they were like, you know, relatively like, you know, lower class. They didn't have really anything growing up. Like my grandpa was like, you know, alcoholic, like, you know, not the greatest like family situation in the world. And my family made it to like middle class. And that's like, I feel like for them doing that and putting me into, you know, a slightly bigger town with a little bit of a better school, and making it to the point to where like, you know, we had a very loving family. We weren't, you know, swimming in money, like, you know, we're super middle class, like a little bit paycheck to paycheck and stuff like that. So like if they made that come up, then like it's my duty and obligation for like our family name to at least make us that big of a leap or even bigger and go from middle class to, rich as fuck.
It's hard. Oh yeah, exactly. Put it. Yeah.
Yeah, and like,
Yeah.
I mean, seeing like her family, like, you know, first generation, I just feel like I want to do everything for like her family, and I mean, you know, our family to like do everything I can to like bring everyone up with me too.
100%. And I speak about it too because like our parents, I don't know if your parents, but I know my parents came here illegally. So my parents came here illegally too. My dad had to come here at 15. He was the oldest of 14. Damn. He actually, a lot of people can't say this, but he actually made his career, right? He's an executive chef, has his own restaurant, and mastered English, right? And seeing that inspired me because like even though he came here at 15, he worked his ass off, and I feel like that's where I get my work ethic.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't have that opportunity. So and I like that too because like your story too, like you said, your dad was in a trailer park, right?
Yeah.
You saw that, wanted more. You want to give them more too. I don't know, like you just have that mindset that you want more, man. Like I like this conversation a lot. Like we're having too. I feel like it's not really that spoken a lot.
Yes. And I think we talked about this a little bit too. Like I was mowing lawns in like 4th grade. Like my parents were like, "Do you want to be the one kid when you're 16 that doesn't have a car, or are you gonna go make money?" And I was like, "Oh shit! All right, I guess I'm mowing yards."
Oh, there you go.
So they definitely instilled like work ethic in me early, and like my dad's like blue collar, like he builds houses. So like I was like setting trusses and building decks and like doing hard labor. And I always remember like when I was little, I was like, when I get older, I'm gonna pay people to do this shit. Like this sucks. So I was like, I'm gonna like use my brain. Like I feel like I'm pretty smart. Not saying my parents aren't smart. I just feel like there's a different way of doing things. And like even in school, like I was the kid, like I had like a 3.8, 3.9 GPA, like mostly A's and B's. But like I was always cutting corners. Like, all right, I'm gonna cheat on this test. Like I'm like, you know, I could do the homework pretty fast. Like there's a faster way of doing these math problems.
Right.
Like I'd always cut corners because like in school, it's interesting because the reward is just the grade. So it doesn't matter how you get the grade, you just get the grade.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to do as little as possible, the highest leverage shit possible to get the grade.
Okay.
And then when I dropped out of college, I was like, oh, the reward is money. So it's like, what's the highest leverage, like how little can I do, but how little can I do to get the most money possible? Like what's the highest leverage thing when money's the reward? And you look at hourly wage jobs and it's like the most money I ever made in a day was $15,000. Like you can't make $15,000 working an hourly wage job. So it's like, how can I take time away from making money to where my quote unquote hourly wage is like fucking absurd.
Right.
And the only way I could do that was selling really expensive stuff on commission. So it's like, if you sell a $10,000 thing on 10% commission and you do it at a 30-minute phone call, you make $1,000, like, that's a pretty crazy hourly wage.
Yeah.
So I figured out how to like kind of game the system from school to be like, well, if the reward's money, like how do I do this? So it's I don't know, something that just kind of in me early.
And that's crazy too, because like you graduated from school and you didn't go to school, but still like you still have that same mindset. Do you see yourself? Are you in a degree? You said psychology, right?
Yeah, psychology. Well, I just like you're saying, first generation. I went to college for my parents. Like that's like what I did, and I wanted to drop out like the whole time. So like I knew like I wasn't gonna be using my degree. My dad is a plumber and my mom cleans houses, and like that's how they made their careers, and they do really well. I mean, they brought us to the middle class, I would say, bought some buildings, but their like American dream was me going to college and getting a degree. That's what they saw. That's what they visualized as like the American dream. And then their next American dream was me going out and getting a 9-to-5 or going to like grad school. And so I'm like choking. Hold on. Yeah, hold on. Okay, wait. So basically, like, what ended up happening is they wanted me to go to college. They wanted me to either go to grad school, get, you know, a 9-to-5, start small, because that was like when they thought about the American dream, like, that's what they were being told. Like, this is what you do. You go to grad school, you start with a really low paying job. And I could have gone that route. I think the only reason that like I finished college was because of the fact that, sorry, I'm still choking, but I think the only reason that I finished was just for them. Like, that's honestly it. Like, that's what they wanted. That was like what they had, like, basically like my whole life. That's what they were instilling in me, is that was what I was going to do. And so, I mean, I knew that I didn't want to do it. I got into network marketing. That opened my eyes on like what was possible for me. And so, by the time that I finished and I like graduated, it was one of those choices, because he was able to like build up the courage and like leave and drop out. And I remember when he did that, because I wanted to do that too. but I didn't have the courage inside of me to like my parents to bring me here, and then like that's the only thing that they wanted, and then I just like drop out. And so I could have, and it would have worked out just fine, but I was so like I can't do it that I just stuck it out and I finished. And it was something that I genuinely did for them. I am passionate about psychology, lots of people. I love the mind. Very like I think even knowing about the mind has helped me get really far too, as far as like why we make decisions. But ultimately, after I graduated, it was one of those things where I just knew like I'm not gonna go to grad school, and I'm not gonna go get a job for this degree. And my mom, like, I mean, like I said, she wanted me to stay home for a year, then go get a job somewhere. She wanted me to go to grad school, like, and I just had to like basically draw the line of like I did this for you guys, and now everything else that I'm gonna do is gonna be for me. And it was one of those things where I kind of had to let them down so that I could bring myself up, because if I just kept like sticking in with what they wanted, I would have not been able to come this far. And so, yeah, I don't use my degree. My degree did not necessarily get me this job. I would say it was my experience and my skill set, but yeah, I don't think I'll ever use it. It's nice to have that there. I've never seen the degree physically. My parents have it somewhere that they look at it and they show it out, but I haven't seen it just yet. Like, I had already moved by the time that it came in the mail, so I was like, okay. But yeah, I mean, just like you were saying earlier, especially being like first generation, it's like they pass us the baton, and even with his family and like growing up in the trailer, they pass us the baton, and it's our job to take the baton and go somewhere else. And I think something that I gained, which was and I don't know how it is for him, but like for me, especially as a first generation, and to everybody that's a first generation, like if your parents came from Mexico or if they came from a different country, like most people would say, oh, I don't have opportunities because I'm a first generation. Like, I don't know. And that used to be like a limiting belief that I used to have. And then I realized somewhere along the line, like, there's generational curses. Like, there's like people get stuck in curses for families and families and families. Like, for example, being broke, it's in generations, right? Like you drive to certain areas and it's like families have been here for like 50 years and they can't get out of the situation. And like, when I look at my family and like everything that I've like how far I've come, I like think about the fact that like my parents started on a blank slate. They started blank complete slate, which means that there was nobody before us here that could say like, oh, in our family here we've always been broke, or in our family here we've always worked here as nurses, or we've always worked here as teachers, or we've always done this one thing, so you have to do this thing. So I always thought of that as like an opportunity, because I was like, I have a blank canvas. I could do whatever I want. I could be whoever I want. I could do anything. And I think that's helped me, one, like just my perception of like what's possible, because I wasn't judging myself by what my aunts had done or what my, uncles have done or what other, because I don't have any like lawyers in my family. I don't have any doctors. I don't have any teachers. I don't have any nurses.
Right.
I don't have anybody except plumbers and cleaners in my family.
Yeah.
And when I was little, I literally used to go to Mexico and visit my other family over there. And I literally, one time, I was like a 5th grader. I literally cleaned someone's house and for actual money. Like, I didn't need to, because of course I was there on vacation. But I literally spent a whole day cleaning someone's house with like these other girls that like lived in Mexico too in the area. And like I remember physically like thinking like, well, when I grow up one day, like this is gonna probably be my job, so I should start getting good at it. So that's why I cleaned that person's house in 5th grade, because I was like, well, this is what everybody in my family does. Like this is probably what I'm gonna do. And I was like the cleaner's daughter. Like I would go to like with my mom while she was like cleaning houses, these like wealthy ass people, nice ass houses in Chicago. And like I just remember being like such a difference in like what I thought was possible for me. And now it's like looking at all of it and looking at all the opportunities of like, we're really able to like create wealth for our family and create new legacies and like new perspectives, because we have a blank slate. We don't have everybody's like opinions or like what's been passed down the last 50 years, because it's completely new. So I feel like we have an opportunity.
I love that too, because like it's all in the mind. It's how you think, the way you think, right? Like you might, like you just said, you were in Mexico and you thought this is what you're gonna do, your environment, whatever, but as the time goes on and you just know what you're capable of. And, and I love that, because you can switch it like that. Yeah. Right? I'm not saying that mental health is like a lie or whatever, because like I'm also a psych major too. Yeah. But dude, like there's just so many alternatives to do than just taking a prescribed medication, right? Yeah. There's just so many things. Go for a walk. Go like just tell yourself, hey, like I'm gonna do this. Like do it. Do the most uncomfortable thing you can think of, and it progresses, right? I don't know, like it's just a switch of a mindset could change your whole life.
Yeah, I think your whole reality is just a direct reflection of like what goes on in your brain. And like, it sounds like you see it on the motivation pages, you're like, oh, that's cool. Like, let's put it on my Instagram story. But like, it's like when you remove emotions and you just like actually use your brain and think about it. Like, you watch stuff, you do stuff, like you do shit with your body. Like, if you put less junk food in and more green shit in,
there you go.
You are healthier.
Yeah.
If you like are around people who make money and you learn from them and you do the things they do, like, you will make more money. And I think it's like when you remove like all the limiting beliefs and all the everything about it, you just literally, it's a game of inputs and outputs. And if you digest the right shit and you get around the right people and you do the right things and you like learn the right shit and you get away from the wrong people, like, you'll do anything that you believe. But it's actually really interesting because they did this study on heroin addicts. And there's heroin addicts in, you know, like a city like Chicago and different cities all over the world. And they go to rehab, they get out, and they get in the exact same environment, and then they start doing heroin again. And when they're out of the environment, when they're in like AA or rehab or whatever, they stop doing it. And that's what happens with all heroin addicts. Yet when you look at all the soldiers, the U.S. soldiers in Vietnam that did heroin, they did it in Vietnam. So when they went back to the States, there were no heroin addicts that did it in Vietnam and they came here. Why? It was because their environment changed.
Gosh, that's crazy.
Because they didn't know where to get it. They didn't know who had it. They just didn't. It was just like, it was a whole different environment.
Right.
So that's why I think one of the best things you could do if you're lost and you're like, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do with my life, go move across the country. Like, get away from everyone you know and just get a whole new blank slate. That's why we moved to Miami. Like, I think moving to a different place and just having a clean slate, no one knows you. No one knows that you were a dumbass in high school and went to those parties and did that dumb shit.
Right.
They only know the new Garrett. They only know the new Michelle, you know, like, so everyone just knows the new you with the right mindset, and you can meet the right people and do the right things. And it's the best way to just completely like swap your reality.
Yeah.
I like that. No, Garrett, you're like, I like that. You motivated me, bro. Like, I fucking like that.
That's advice I'm gonna take.
Yeah. Just like, you meet your own friends and they re-meet you, right? You see them the same and they're gonna re-meet you. I like that.
It's hard when you're around like high school friends and you're like, oh, I want to level up. I want to do this. So like, shut the fuck up, bro. You were that kid that was like slamming beers off your head when you were 16. So it's like, they see the old you and they like, unfortunately, like it's hard with hometown friends because they want to hold on to the old you.
Yeah.
So they don't want you to change. I mean, granted, you can have great friends that want that, of course, but like they want to hold on to the old you. So when they see you changing, they don't reward that behavior because they want you to be the old Garrett.
Yeah.
So it takes like just, you know, I'm not saying you have to cut off all your hometown friends. Like, people grow and evolve, and that's good. Like, be around them. But I think it takes getting away from those people and coming back and be like, hey, this is the new me. These are my new boundaries. And I think it's really, really helpful to just get out of your hometown.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say like you don't necessarily need to move across the country. It's helpful. It'll like expedite it.
Yeah, it
expedites. It's like it's a good option. I mean, even just like leaving the environment, like saying no to like certain things. And there comes a place where like you want to have fun, and that's amazing. Then there's also like, what are the goals? Like, is that in alignment? If it's like temporary sacrifice for that goal, like, are you willing to temporarily sacrifice, right? Are you willing to like temporarily say no, to lose friends in the process? And like, that's the like hard part. It's like willing to like take a bet on yourself so hard that you are okay with knowing, hey, I'm going to say no, and either they're going to support me or I'm going to lose a bunch of friends in the process of who I'm trying to achieve. Right. And like, realistically, like, we're always shedding. Like, there's higher versions of all of us. And like, we already know, like intuitively, like, we know what that higher version of us is. We can see this person. We look in the mirror and we see that version. And it's like, this person is telling us every single day, hey, this is what you need to be doing. Hey, this is where you're going. Do this. And then you have people in your ear that are saying like, no, say, do this, like, do this, do this. It's like, which voice are you going to listen to? And like, how bad do you actually want it? Because that's the only thing that like, I feel like life is about, even when it comes to like achieving your higher self, is like taking the bets on yourself and like being willing to like get so uncomfortable that like there's nothing that can happen except change, which is realistically what we're after. It's change.
100%. No, that's well said, guys. Like, this is well said. This is no, you guys are well said. And I love the point where you just got to get uncomfortable so much every single day. That's why I told Harrison we should do that every single day. I tell him too as well. And like you said too, like when you level up the old Garrett, I'm assuming that's your personal experience because it's something similar to me too.
Yeah.
Back in high school, I was crazy as fuck, right? Like slamming beers, doing all the crazy stuff, party life.
Degenerate.
Yeah, 100%. And Wolf of Wall Street was the best movie of all time. But either way, you meet those same friends. You come back, you're like, oh, I like to read now. I like to run.
Yeah.
I lost like 60 pounds personally for me.
That's awesome.
They still see you the same way as before, and they treat you the same way where you're just like, dude, like, I don't speak like that no more. I don't think like that no more.
Yeah.
You have some more beers. Like, I don't really do that no more, dude.
Yeah.
So it's like they stuff you down to that. And it's not intentionally. I don't think so.
Yeah.
But you do have to remove it sometimes or put those boundaries too as well. So yeah, it's crazy, guys. It is crazy.
Yeah, and I think the saying, like, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, like, you hear that, like, it's fucking corny, but, like, I think a really interesting practice to do for everyone watching, for everyone listening, is, like, write out, like, the 5 people you spend the most time with. Again, it's not to shit on your friends, which is, like, a good reality check. Is, like, write down their 5 names, and then write in buckets of, like, financials and, like, mental health and, like, their belief systems and, like, their relationships and, like, their friend groups and their habits. And just write all those out and then get the average of how much everyone's making. Like, you know, like the friends they're around, the habits they have, if they have negative beliefs, if they like are always like talking shit and like talking negative and like just not being, you know, great to be around in a growth environment. Because I promise you, that is you. Like all those averages are exactly you. Because it's just a game of inputs and outputs. It's who you spend time with.
100%.
Yeah, and to kind of bounce off what he said, like, our friends are a reflection of who we are. There's something that we see in these people that even though maybe like people have people in their life where they're like, oh, I don't like this person. Like she talks so much shit, but you keep this person around. And it's like, there's parts of us that we see in other people, maybe that we don't like about someone that we resent because it's found in us too. And so that's one of that exercise that he does. It's like, do you want to make more money? Okay, who are the people that are closest to you? What's the chat that you're in? How much are those people making? What are their habits? What are their goals? That's a reflection of you. So it's like, even if you don't think that's a reflection of you, that's still a reflection of you, even if you don't want to admit it. But I mean, yeah, going back to your statement that you said earlier, you were saying like mental health is important, but you know, the medication and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I want to share a story with you guys. When I was in, I think it was like 7th grade and 8th grade, I basically like I was really depressed and I was like self-harming, had to get a therapist. I had a therapist for like a year or whatever. I never ended up taking medication though. And like at that point, like I was like at such a low in my life for I don't even know what reason, because part of me like actually blocked that out. So like there's a lot of stuff that I don't remember about it. But like I was so depressed and I thought that like life couldn't get better and like this was how it was and like I could never really achieve the things that I wanted to achieve. And like 7 years, 8 years later, like the things that I've achieved because I decided to like just keep going and not decide like, oh, this is all that there is. I'm just gonna like stop here. And like that's one of the cool things of like life, and something that I want to emphasize to people is that even if they're going through something really hard, like I talk to people every single day that are going through a divorce, that have like so much debt, that you know their family has had bad curses that have happened basically for generations. They, you know, all this stuff. And it's like, the cool thing is like you might be in a situation right now where like shit is just hard, it just doesn't feel like it's gonna work out, but it's like knowing that at the other end of that you could like rewrite whatever it is that you're wanting to rewrite, like the way. And I think that one of the reasons that like we've achieved what we have, and like I mean there's still so much to go, like we haven't even touched the surface, but even for me, like I'm a big believer in like being a co-creator with God, of like, you know, God is always listening. Like someone is always listening to you. Whatever you write about, it's going to happen. Whatever you speak about, it's going to happen. Whatever you put your energy into, it's going to happen. And so knowing that like, just because you're in a bad situation right now, that doesn't mean that you can't make a decision today that in a year, in 5 months, things are going to change. Things are going to look differently, simply by becoming conscious of the fact that you have the power inside. Like I think what happens with a lot of people, what happened with me when I was, you know, younger and I was super depressed and I had to get a therapist, is like I had such a victim mentality. I thought everything was happening to me. I thought I had no control. I thought like I could never achieve the things that I really wanted to achieve because of like different aspects about me. And like the one thing that changed from then to like me now is I just realized the power that I already had inside. I realized that I was the one that was driving the wheel of my own life. I could make my own decisions. I could say yes to things. I could say no to things. I basically took back power into my life of saying like, if I want to like move to Miami, I need to say I want to move to Miami, and then I need to make it happen. If I want to live in this apartment, I need to say that I'm going to live in this apartment, and then I need to make it happen. And it's one of those things, like, sometimes we feel so low and so depressed because it feels like we have no power in our lives. But I think just realizing, like, you can change your life in 1 second by regaining power and realizing, like, you get to do whatever you want to do, not because you deserve it, not because you were made for this, because you just get to. Like, that's it. Like, anything that you want, we can have it just because we get to have it.
100%.
Right? And so, I mean, I feel like even just that sense of awareness too for people is something that definitely needs to be spread, because like your goals of growing this podcast and all the people that have done like amazing things, like it started by them just saying like, I get to do that because I get to. Like that's going to happen for me because I'm choosing for that to happen to me. And I think a lot of people are depressed because they have this like vision of what they want their lives to be. And maybe they just don't know that they can actually achieve that. It doesn't just have to be like a dream, but it can actually be something that happens in real life once they make that realization and gain back control.
100% manifestation.
Yeah.
Pretty much. No, it's true. Like you say, you're gonna speak it to existence, and like you said, next year 50,000, 100, it could be even more. Double.
Yeah.
Sky's a fucking limit.
We'll have to go back.
Yeah, sky's a fucking limit too. And no, I enjoy this. Do you have any questions or?
I guess the last question is like, what's advice you would give to somebody that's young, try to become an entrepreneur?
I think the biggest thing is, I mean, of course, maybe I'm biased, but like, I think I said this like even when we did this in Miami, but like, I would just go get a sales job. Like, I'm not kidding. It's funny because when I dropped out of college, I like called everyone I knew that made any type of money at all, and they all told me to get a sales job. And I was like, fuck, I'm kind of introverted. Like, I don't really think that's for me. But I really think it's good to do. Especially for like a business that's making money, because when people go wrong, and I think just what social media glorifies, like being a CEO, being a business owner, like it's fucking hard, and there's a lot of risk associated with it. And when you don't have any skill sets, you don't have any experience, and you don't have any money, it's even harder to succeed.
Yeah.
So if you're like, being in sales is like the most important skill on earth, because if you know how to communicate and you know how to persuade people to get them to do what you want them to do, like, you can obviously make money in that process. Like, you do sales for 2 years, like you will make 6 figures a year. That's just all there is to it. And more important than the 6 figures, like you can go put $100,000 in the bank if you do this for 3 years. But what's more important than that is what you learn along the way. Because if you make 6 figures, it means you just made a business 7 figures, and you're inside of a business that's doing millions of dollars a year. So maybe you realize you fucking hate sales, and that's fine, but you'll kind of learn how the whole business works. It's like being a one piece of an engine, like being a piston in an engine, but then you can zoom out and be like, oh, this is how the whole engine works. Like, holy shit, I want to own the engine now.
Right.
Because you learn like, okay, well, how do they get these leads? How do they do their marketing? And then, okay, well, how do they build their product? Like, how do they do that? Well, how do they keep clients happy? Well, how do they get the client testimonials? How do they get the results? How do they build their website? How do they do this? And like, as you're making the money, you're learning how everything else works. And even if sales isn't your thing, because to be frank, sales might not be your thing, you can learn while you're earning, while you're making money, and you can see what you like and don't like and where your strengths kind of are. And then it's the perfect building block stepping stone to go do that next thing you want to do, even if it's not even close to sales.
I love that. That's perfectly well said. It's just is. No, I enjoy that too. And guys, like, I don't want to take up more of your time either. I think we've been on for like almost 2 hours now.
I think,
But guys, Garrett, shout out your socials. I know they have Michelle's, but you guys shout out your socials too as well to the boys.
Yeah, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn, Garrett Campbell. I'm really pushing on YouTube. I'm really pushing on Twitter. Those are my 2 main platforms. So find me there. Shoot me a DM. I got like free course if you want to check it out. Like, I got a bunch of free materials, a bunch of fire content. Like, if you guys want to get into sales, like, I don't really work with complete beginners for like my business, but I have a bunch of free content, free courses. Like, check that shit out. Go make some money. Don't give me $1. And when you're ready for me, like, we're ready for you.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, well, mine is just Michelle Curla. So you can find me on TikTok. And I would say TikTok is probably where you'll find me best. I do like get ready with me's, talk throughs, daily vlogs, all the things. So that is just my socials. If you can put the like little thing in there, because Mine is weird, like the name.
On TikTok?
Yeah, it's like Michelle Carrillo, but with no A.
No way. Okay. Okay. All
The
right.
same one as my Instagram.
All right. That's